Hey, welcome to a Monday afternoon version of Fantasy Football Today. Adam, Dave, and Jamey with Heath Cummings joining us. Hello, Heath. Did you have I asked Dave and Jamey last night. I didn't get a chance to ask you. Did you have a nice weekend, Heath?
Super weird that it's Adam, Dave, and Jamey, and Heath Cummings joining us.
Yeah, it's rare. We never have this.
Out of town guest that happens to be on the show today. Does that mean you're not going to be a jerk to me because I'm a guest? It's weird.
Is that a requirement? No. Then hey, it's Adam, Heath, Jamey, and Dave. If that's the case, no, because we did a podcast last night and you weren't on it, so I wanted this to be welcoming you back as No,
I do.
Was he on vacation?
No, I was just a day that I wasn't on the show.
How was your one-day vacation, Heath? We missed you.
Well, he wasn't on Friday either. It's been a while since we've heard from Heath. That's all I'm saying. Heath, you have a nice article coming out about league winners tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know if it's nice or not yet. I haven't written it, but
is our football season coming up or something that we should be made aware of? What is this?
All right, well, league winners, tomorrow you can read about it. Today you can hear about it. And we've got a little bit of a rankings debate to start the show. We've got an interesting take on Dalvin Cook from Adam Schefter that we have to talk about. And we got news and notes as well. And hopefully time for your emails at fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. I'm going to fire out some random questions at you guys, random fantasy questions at some point as well. But I want to start with maybe the middle of round one and the back end of round one in any format, really, and debate these three players. Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Kenyan Drake versus Austin Ekeler. And Heath is really the glue that holds this show together because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Heath, but your rankings are a little bit different from Dave and Jamey's on those three guys, Ekeler, Drake, and Clyde, right?
I don't know where they have Sanders related to, or Drake related to Ekeler, but yeah, I have it Ekeler, Clyde, small gap, Drake in full PPR. And I might have it the same in non-PPR now as well. I think that it's pretty easy to see what the top 3 or 4 upside is for Clyde. I think Austin Ekeler showed us that he has that upside last year, and Drake probably did too. This whole walking boot thing puts a little bit of a damper on it. But yeah, I think it's Ekeler, Clyde, Drake.
So that was your order before you heard about the
correct
walking boot, or
yes,
after?
Before.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the walking boot thing is pretty significant at this point. And
is it? Come on. So
we don't know. We don't know. It doesn't sound like it's a major deal.
Just in case people don't know, right?
Okay.
Kenyan Drake is in a walking boot, and they're calling it precautionary. So I don't know. Doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it could be.
It could be. I'm putting the finishing touches on the players who I think will have their career year this year, and Drake was originally on the list, and I made a pivot to Ekeler because I do think that Drake can have a very good year. I still think he's a great top 15-ish type of a pick, but even in non-PPR, I'd rather have Ekeler. Just every single sign points to him being the guy for the Chargers. And it makes perfect sense. They let Melvin go. A lot of opportunities are there. He's going to gobble up a lot of them. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield. Not the most efficient runner. When he gets a handoff, he's not the most efficient there, but he's actually significantly more efficient than Drake. So I have made the lean, and I'm making it final. Ekeler greater than sign Drake. And Edwards-Helaire is ahead of both of them.
That's the thing. I mean, Jamey has Edwards-Helaire 6th overall in PPR. Dave has Edwards-Helaire 6th overall in PPR. And Heath has Edwards-Helaire 13th overall in PPR. So that's enormous. I'm not sure Heath's going to get much Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year. Meanwhile, Ekeler is 8th for Heath, 12th for Jamey, 13th for Dave. And Drake is 11th for Jamey, 14th for Dave, and 15th for Heath. So really, Edwards-Helaire is much higher for Dave and I'm sorry, I mean, I know it's only 6 or 7 spots, but it's a big deal, I think, at that point in the draft. A lot higher for Dave and Jamey than he is for Heath, and I guess it's almost like you're trading spots. Ekeler is much higher for Heath than Ekeler is for Dave and Jamey. I think you guys get what I'm saying. But.
Right. I get what you're saying for sure. I'm curious, though, Heath. A month ago, there wasn't anybody in practice or anything like that, and The idea that these rookies wouldn't be able to adapt because of the lack of an offseason was a really legitimate argument. Now that you've heard so much out of Kansas City about Edwards-Helaire, I'm wondering if you've considered changing your tune and that maybe
I've
now
got
you
him
are seeing it.
13th. Like, who was
Right,
the
but
like?
I'm
How
just
often
wondering-
do rookie running backs finish as first round values? I'm not discounting
I think
Clyde
there's been one
Edwards-Helaire.
every year. There's been one every year for like the last 4 years.
Who was last year?
I guess there wasn't one last year.
last year was
Jacobs
the first
probably
time in a
would have been if he had finished the season after getting hurt.
Last year was the first time in a while, but we typically see one rookie running back, sometimes more, finish as complete studs. This would be the best candidate for that, obviously. But
It would.
13th is not low. Let me get Jamey in there because Jamey is just another. Now the GM of the Chiefs saying that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to have a big year and going to get a lot of work. So you have him confidently at 6.
I may move him to 5. I mean, there's a lot to like. I mean, you know the track record of Andy Reid. You know what the potential of this kid is. You know what this offense is going to look like. So, if there's any concern over Dalvin Cook, then you should take Edwards-Helaire at 5.
It's such a different tone from last year. Do you remember last year, all the headache about, well, which Chiefs running back should we get? Who's the guy to target? Who's going to be the best one? And then it was pretty sloppy. And this year, it's just the same message out of Kansas City every single, maybe not every day, but every few days that CEH will be awesome.
Well, okay, Heath, what, if anything, scares you about why do you think that Dave and Jamey are too high on Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I like your opinion of the difference between 6th or 7th and 12th or 13th is a lot bigger than my opinion of the difference between those two. So I'm not necessarily saying that they're way too high on him. Mostly what I have in between Clyde and 6th or 7th overall is wide receivers.
Okay.
I see.
Yeah, that is basically true. You have Kelsey, Julio Jones, Tyreek Hill, then you have Derrick Henry, and then you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That's interesting. Henry over Clyde Edwards-Helaire in full PPR.
Correct.
Okay. No. It's absolutely within the realm of possibility.
What do you think his workload is going to be, Heath?
That's I don't really know, and that might be where I'm just projecting him too low. But I think I've got him at like 14 to 15 touches per week.
Okay.
How many catches?
Let me just pull it up so I'm not just completely making things up while I'm talking.
I'll make it up for you. 90.
Yeah, nowhere close to that. Not 70 either. I think 58.
Okay. All right. So I want to let's talk about Ekeler now. And who gets, well, actually, of these 3, who gets the most carries? Jamey?
Of these 3?
Yeah, of Ekeler, Drake, and Clyde.
They're probably going to be somewhat similar. I'd probably say Drake is going to have the most carries.
Does anybody have a much bigger workload than the other 2, or do all the workloads look fairly similar? Or touches? Let's say touches.
I think I can make the argument for Edwards-Helaire getting the most touches.
I would agree.
Because this Drake foot thing definitely makes me second guess it. Combined with the fact that Kingsbury was just talking last week about how he wants to find a quote great role for his running backs, plural, talking about Chase Edmonds. And that would be very different from last year. Last year there was one game where another running back for the Cardinals, I wouldn't say not the starter because David Johnson had that game where he got hurt early and then Chase Edmonds had like 27 touches. But only one game where a second running back had more than 7 touches.
Wow.
They like to use one guy. Kingsbury is a one running back guy, or at least he was last year.
I
This year
have
could be a
Ekeler
different
with the
story.
most touches.
How many carries?
The most touches for Ekeler. I think I
I
have
know. I'm just
220,
curious. Okay.
210, 210, yeah.
And how many catches?
71.
There's a part
All
of
right.
me that thinks Edwards-Helaire could get more catches than Ekeler, believe it or not.
Okay, well, what I love about Drake is just how good the Cardinals running backs were last year. David Johnson was a top 7 running back in weeks 1 through 6. Chase Edmonds had 2 games where he was featured. He was a beast in one, and he had a terrible game in the other. But he was a top 7 running back in just those 2 weeks. And Kenyan Drake was the number 4 running back in the final 8 games of the season, number 4 in both formats with 123 carries and 28 catches in 8 games. Good situations there. I didn't pull the trigger on two of them in a PPR league just this morning. I had both Ekeler and Drake there, and I went with Drake and Julio, and it was interesting because I guess I'm just not sure I don't know what to expect for Austin Ekeler. He's obviously very good, but I don't know if they're going to give him more than like 12 carries a game. And Tyrod Taylor scares me a little bit. And then who gets the goal line work? I would think it would be Ekeler. But that's why would I? Because he's the most accomplished guy there, and because he got all that work when Gordon was out.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just
no, that's a fair question. I would think it would be Ekeler, but obviously I'm not 100% certain. What do you think about that?
I mean, I would assume it's going to be Ekeler as well, but they have an open opportunity here to see how these two other guys are going to work, and Kelly and Jackson. And is it going to be you don't want to overwork Ekeler and maybe have what happened to Kamara last year, when he didn't handle it as a smaller type running back. They certainly, I think, value Ekeler based on what they paid him and allowing Melvin Gordon to walk. So it makes sense for him to be their featured guy. And if you've seen any picture of the dude with his shirt off, he looks like he's ready to go run through a wall. So, I would think Ekeler is the guy with the hope that those 200 plus touches that are vacated, he gets the bulk of them. But no, I'm sorry. I was going to say, does he lose a little bit in terms of the reception total because of the quarterback change and what, Rivers has meant to throwing to backs versus what Tyrod will or will not do in that same regard? Is it an offense thing? Is it a player thing? So that's the thing you're going to find out, because his carries are definitely going to go up if he's healthy. There's just no way around that. It's just a matter of, will his receptions stay in the same range or will they potentially decline? And that's the fear if you're taking Ekeler.
It's interesting because I do think there's reason to be concerned about Eckler's workload. Same for Drake. We haven't seen a 250 touch season from either of them. But Eckler's slightly bigger than Clyde, right?
I would think he's probably a little bigger than Clyde. I mean, the thing about Clyde is you're drafting him. You're drafting Andy Reid. That's right. What you're doing when you're drafting Edwards-Helaire, because nothing about the draft process from end of the college season when he was a national champion through the combine, through any other thing you looked at, was he the best running back coming into the NFL? There's no way that anybody, unless they were taking a shot in the dark, was saying that, because this is a loaded group of rookie running backs in terms of what their talent level is. Swift is a rock star. Dobbins is a superstar. Taylor is a maniac. All these guys are just exceptional. And then it was Edwards-Helaire sort of in the tail end of that, which is not bad, but it's just, he was sort of pulling up the rear a little bit along with Akers. And so for him to go there tells you that they think he fits. And everything you're hearing tells you that he fits. And then Damian Williams says he can't go because of his family concerns. And now it's the rocket to the moon. So there's just everything about this scenario points to being great. He has to be great now. And that's what you're drafting. Are you drafting him to be great in this perfect scenario? And I'm going to take my chances on that. I understand why Heath is not, and it's not that Heath doesn't like him, clearly, but he's a little bit more cautious. Totally get it.
All right, so then let me put you guys in my shoes here. Let's say Clyde Edwards-Helaire is off the board.
Oh, they're so small.
And you've got
tiny. I can't even get my foot in there.
Actually, I'm like 11 and a half. You'd be surprised. Kind of oddly clown feet.
It's only 3.5 sizes smaller.
Yeah,
than
same.
Well, you guys are tall. You guys are very tall. So anyway, you could get two of those three guys or a wide receiver in a PPR league, or one of them and a wide receiver. What do you do?
I'm probably going to get Ekeler and a wide receiver.
I'd go Ekeler, Julio, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. So Dave was doing that as if Clyde Edwards-Helaire was off the board.
Yeah.
Which is fair. So let's say you've got Drake, Ekeler, and any wide receiver not named Michael Thomas or Devontae Adams, and you have two picks. What do you do?
Just told you.
Yep.
Jamey?
Yes, same.
Okay.
But if you're telling me that Edwards-Helaire falls in the draft and I have the chance to get Edwards-Helaire and Ekeler and the catches count, I'm salivating.
Okay. Well, please don't do that into the
I'm not literally salivating.
And then
Eckler's the one that's going to fall unless, Drake has a significant injury. We're high. I think I said this on one of our previous shows that we're higher on Ekeler than most in the industry.
And then there's this Dalvin Cook tweet from Matthew Berry on the Fantasy Football Marathon, currently on ESPN2. It's no longer on ESPN2. Don't change the channel. Adam Schefter said if Dalvin Cook's contract situation isn't resolved by the start of the season, drafting him in fantasy would, quote, give him pause, end quote. Uh-oh. Do I have scary music to play for that? I might. Oh, I think.
There you go.
Uh-oh. What do you think about that?
Oh, I can't believe I'm laughing as hard at that as I am. It's a little nerve-wracking. You don't want to pull a Le'Veon Bell, draft somebody in the first round, and then he ends up not showing up.
Does it give you pause?
Not yet. It makes me want to draft
the fact that he's
Madison.
there. The fact that he's there, it's the encouraging part of it. But he could say, you know what, I'm not going to go until I got to play my 6 games to get my season. And then that's the worry.
Yeah, does somebody want to explain this holdout situation? Because you can't hold out a training camp, but you can in the regular season.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Well,
He's gone through. It's not like he's just standing on the sidelines.
you're our special guest, Heath.
Dave's salary cap expert.
I know, and even I'm not sure if I've got the. I don't want to spew something that's not correct, so I'm zipping my lips.
I think he's got to play 6 games, if I understand it.
All right, somebody start Googling. Now, I'm going to promote
on it.
this. We got a newsletter that is very awesome and very informative. It helps me produce the show. A lot of tidbits in there that I didn't see. So sign up for it, cbssports.com/newsletter. We have actually a few newsletters on the website, but you can, obviously the Fantasy Football Today one will probably be the one that you want, but stay up to date with the latest fantasy football content and see what we've got on the website and all that stuff. cbssports.com/newsletter. This is a big week for fantasy footballers out there, so make sure you're watching HQ all week long and all season long. Live noon Eastern, cbssportshq.com, or better yet, download the CBS Sports HQ app and watch it on your smart TV, on your Roku, on your Amazon Fire, whatever it is. It's just, we're 21st century viewing here. But it's basically sports coverage the way you grew up watching it. When we all used to love watching, sports shows. It's not the like talking heads and the ridiculous debates about nothing. It's just really smart content, fantasy content, gambling content, highlights, the way you remembered it being. Okay, Dave, are you ready yet, or should we go to?
Oh, no. I need a lot of work.
Okay, random fantasy questions. Here we go. Second half of the show, by the way, is going to be league winners in each round. Random fantasy questions. When do you draft your DST?
Second to last round, maybe third to last round if you want to get one of the top 2 or 3.
Or if there's no kickers, last round.
Okay, but do you think that we're a little bit, as a podcast, a little bit like, don't draft the DST, like a little bit gone too far in that direction?
2 years ago, it was Jacksonville, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The number 1 defense. People had an 8th or 9th round ADP. We said, don't do that. I don't think they were a top 12 defense.
They weren't.
Last year was the Bears.
Yep.
Last year was the Bears. Like, it's just, no, we're not too much like that. If you want to go, like, I think it's RJ that sometimes will go 3, maybe even 4 rounds before the end because he's on one of the corners and wants to get the Steelers.
Dave does it.
Nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But I'm not going to do that. I'm perfectly happy drafting the Colts in the last round.
Okay. Yeah, and
Well, you said the Colts because they get Jacksonville in week 1.
Right. Well, and they have a good defense too.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I know that's why you're doing it. Just wanted to make sure people understand.
and I would never advocate for a defense in the 8th or 9th round, but
Right. You should be laughed at
yeah,
if you do that.
I would definitely laugh at people. Yeah.
Unless the 8th or the 9th round were the last 2 rounds of your draft.
That's a good point, Dave.
Mm.
Okay. Do you think Carson Wentz has elite upside?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, because the last 2 years on a per game basis, he hasn't even been top 12.
Right, but the year before that, he was top 2.
Yes. Okay. Just making sure. But the year before that, he was, I think, a little bit better of a runner.
He ran again last year.
He ran 243 yards. What did he have? He was on pace for 368 yards in 2017. Okay, so Carson Wentz has good upside.
You don't want to expect him to be like that because you'd be disappointed. But if you get him at the right spot, which typically is, as anywhere between the 8th to 10th quarterback off the board, that's pretty good opportunity for what he could be.
Follow-up question.
Okay.
Is there a top 12 quarterback who doesn't have elite upside this year? Who you look at and you go, yeah, he's going to be top 12, but he
Based on
won't
how
be
we're
top
ranking
5.
them or based on their draft position?
Let's do draft position.
Then it's Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm not like, and I know that on a per game basis, he was last year number 2. I don't really think the no run quarterbacks, actually have reasonable elite upside. And I'm not sure Josh Allen does either, but I'm giving him one more year before I say that.
By the
So
way,
you're talking about Brady
said-
and Breeze.
Yeah, you were
Right.
talking about Breeze when you said per game number 2.
And Brady. Yes, correct.
Well, what about Ryan?
Yeah,
And I
put him
think
in the
all
same
three of
category.
these guys can. I think they all have that type of elite upside. I disagree. Just because they don't run doesn't mean that they can't have great.
But they have
numbers.
to have historic seasons, though, and I
Right.
don't know if that's possible. Like, they're going to have to throw for 5,000 yards for them to be there. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that again.
The difference for me with Ryan is I could see Ryan throwing 650 times easier than I could see Brady or Breeze or Rodgers doing that.
Look, 4,800
Okay.
yards and like 32 touchdowns is probably going to be elite. It's not going to be like Holmes, but it's probably going to be like QB3, right?
I'm not sure if they'll be QB3. Not if there's so many quarterbacks who are running around all over the place, because every time they get 100 yards on the ground, that's the same as, 2,500 yards passing?
No, not 250.
250.
250 yards passing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have my calculator today. Sorry.
All
Yeah,
right.
that was a little bit off.
Yeah, but if you look at the passing upside, we'll just end here, right? Look at the passing upside
Yeah, 250.
of Ryan, Breeze, Brady, Wentz. Does Wentz have the lowest passing upside?
He's not going to throw to what those guys throw to if those guys are right.
But he runs, obviously.
Right.
Okay. All right. The Giants, couple schedules here. The Giants start with the Steelers, Bears, Niners, and Steelers, Bears, Niners, Rams, and Cowboys. Do you care?
I'd be concerned about Daniel Jones as a starter to open the season.
Okay. Melvin Gordon starts with the Titans, who were okay against the run. Then he gets 4 straight matchups against teams that were top 10 against running backs last year. That would be Pittsburgh, the Buccaneers, who were number 1, the Jets, who were 9th, and the Patriots, who were 2nd. That's Melvin Gordon. Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Jets, and Patriots. Do you care?
Those week 2 and week 3 matchups scare me more than week 4 and week 5.
Philip Lindsay scares me more than his
Yeah,
schedule.
I was going to say that's the concern. Why are you talking about Melvin
Sure.
Gordon, not Lindsey?
Okay, and then last random fantasy question. How do you feel about drafting 2 guys in the same backfield? And did it work last year?
Heath does it all the time.
I am regular at the it depends. So you're saying drafting 2 guys in the same backfield that aren't handcuffs?
I think it'd be like Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack, Carry-On and Swift, Lindsey and Gordon.
Chubb and Hunt.
Not Madison and Edmonds. No, I think you're talking
Right, but like PPR, you could do it with the 2 Bears guys. You could do it
Yep.
with the 2 Patriots guys, depending on if you think Damian Harris is that second guy already. Again, Heath does it with the 2 Browns guys. I think 4 or 5 drafts throughout the offseason you've done it, Heath.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there are many scenarios of it, though, that you're drafting those guys to be starters.
Doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily be starters.
I
Well,
like it.
starter and flex. I mean,
Right.
in the range that we're talking about, these guys, like you can make a case for the 2 Washington guys or 2 of the Washington guys.
I think that's later. No, but like if you take Carry-On and Swift,
Right, that's another one. The 2
think
Buffalo
one-
guys.
I don't think one of them is your flex, at least not in week 1. Yes, the Buffalo ones exactly. Do you want to do this? Does it just like backfield dependent? Do you have a rule?
We had a conversation very early on following the draft, or I shouldn't say very, but maybe like May, June, about the drafting the Dolphins guys and how that would sort of work out. Now, again, not as starters, but maybe one of them is your flex. And so if you're getting 2 of them with mid-round picks, I think that's fine. But I think it's more of you're taking one guy in the rounds, maybe 4 to 6, one of the Buffalo guys, one of the Colts guys, one of the Lions guys, maybe one of the Rams guys, assuming Darrell Henderson is healthy, and then taking the next guy in rounds probably 6 through 8. And then that's the flex range.
All right, so how about this then? Let's say you took Melvin Gordon. and then you could take either Phillip Lindsay or Darrell Henderson later. Are you more likely to take one? Are you more likely to take Lindsay because you want to lock
Let's
up?
say Zach Moss, so we take out the injury thing for Henderson.
Okay, fair. You get what I'm saying here.
Yes, I would take Moss.
I would take Moss probably in that situation. I think because you are in those types of situations limiting your upside a little bit if you take both of them.
Then,
Right. The benefit is that Lindsay's. The benefit is if Melvin Gordon gets hurt, you have the starting running back for the Broncos. The downside of it is both are healthy, and maybe the Buffalo guy gets hurt, and Zach Moss is a start.
okay. And then I guess I'll do it. All right. Random fantasy questions are over. Let's go to your news and notes. But here's the funny thing about the news and notes. I accidentally closed out my document. So, oh, no, here we go. Okay, David Montgomery. There we go. News and notes. He lost weight, and he acknowledged that he was too slow last season. Dave, you don't believe in David Montgomery. What about this news item?
It's not just about him, and he's right. He wasn't very fast last season, but his offensive line isn't expected to be very good. And I don't know if I can trust the offense to rally around David Montgomery week in and week out.
So this doesn't do anything. This is not a...
I'm not drafting him unless he
I like it.
really, really, really falls.
Montgomery's he's in such an interesting range because depending on what format you're talking about, he's in the conversation with, in my opinion, Devin Singletary, Ronald Jones, Mark Ingram, Kareem Hunt when you're talking PPR, maybe now Cam Akers with the Darrell Henderson injury. That group of guys that you're looking anywhere between maybe late round 4 to somewhere in round 6. And he could be better than all of them. It wouldn't be a surprise at all, just given what the pedigree is and the workload he's going to get. I mean, he's going to probably get more touches than all those guys. If they use him in the passing game a little bit more, he could be special.
Yeah, I like comparing him with the situation with Jones, and I've got him close in my rankings, but I'd much rather have Montgomery, and Jones almost always goes first now. So, Jamey, that range of round 4 through 6, it seems like Montgomery's usually on the round 6 end of that range, at least in our
Especially
drafts.
PPR. Yeah, non-PPR is a little bit of an easier decision to probably take him there, but I get why Dave likes Ronald Jones better. I can see why people like Devin Singletary better. Mark Ingram, Ben Trager has him 4 rounds higher. So, there's a lot to like about those guys. And you could also see the downside for those guys. They're some of them limited in the passing game. Some of them have significant competition. So we'll see how it all works out. But, look, I'll always take somebody that takes the time to enhance their game. And you see it, and he's done that.
Mike Williams has a sprained AC joint in his shoulder. He is expected to be ready for week 1, but this is worth monitoring. Mike Williams for the Chargers. Deontay Johnson's been dealing with a leg injury. A couple of wide receivers who are completely off our radars but are having good camps. Should they stay off of our radars on draft day? Green Bay wide receiver EQ St. Brown or Equanimous St. Brown and Cincinnati wide receiver Auden Tate. Any reason to buy into them?
No, but I think that's a potential downgrade for Allen Lazard.
Okay.
Not to run away from him yet, but I've dropped him a few spots just because there's other guys that I like that are moving up, and he's somebody that is already based on ADP and some of the analyst drafts I've done that you can get a little bit later. Heath takes him a little too soon for me, so I can't get him as much. But if you like Allen Lazard, you can wait a little bit longer now.
Oh yeah, he's a guy I could just drop around and no one would notice because I would still get him in every draft. So I'll just drop him around.
It was funny because
safe.
Our flex draft, I got him in our flex draft, Adam, and he was my 6th wide receiver, I think. And it was okay, this is the spot I would take him in our draft. Oh, I'll just see what happens. I'll wait around. No, I'll wait another round.
Kept falling.
He kept falling. I was like, okay, this is the point. He's got to pull trigger.
What do you guys make of Browns reports Odell Beckham and Austin Hooper both having good camps?
I think it'd be more of a surprise if they weren't, but it's encouraging.
Yeah.
I had Beckham as a guy on my first bus list or second bus list. I think second one following the NFL draft. And when I redo it this week, he will come off and I'll explain why. But I think round 4 is a good spot for him. I wouldn't want to take him in round 3, but I understand why people are. But round 4 is a good spot for him.
Okay, Beckham or Robert Woods?
Woods.
Beckham in non-PPR.
I think that's the way I have it as well.
What about half PPR?
Ugh. You're the worst.
No, I'm not.
The touchdowns for Woods are such a problem.
Could the touchdowns go up, though, without Todd Gurley getting 12 a year on the ground?
They absolutely could. I like both. I like Robert Woods more so than I like Beckham from the standpoint of I think if Woods hits, as we saw the close of the stretch last season. But, I mean, again, Beckham has seemingly had a quiet offseason, a new coach, a running mate that's got a bad hip. And, we'll see how Beckham operates this year. But, hopefully a motivated Beckham is a good one.
Dallas Goedert has a fractured thumb, but he should be back soon. And Zach Ertz has been dealing with an upper body injury. Hayden Hurst, according to the Falcons' official website, is going to be an every down tight end this season. And who's getting excited about Hayden Hurst?
There's so much to like.
Yeah. But the problem is, the last couple of drafts I've done, he's gone before Hunter Henry.
Not today.
No, I don't think he did today. But I didn't notice that because I took Kelsey. So
I took Hurst. So.
That's a weird draft. We're going to break it down on Twitch, right? I believe.
Yes, we are going to break it down on Twitch.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of this draft because we're talking about it on HQ on Tuesday. But Kelsey went after Kittle. First time I've seen that in our draft.
I did a little dance.
Jack Doyle has a neck injury. David Njoku has a wrist injury. I don't know that there's a really serious injury right now. Is there? Miles Sanders, would that be the biggest?
Sanders and Drake, right?
Oh, AJ Green.
Yeah, and
it's been a week now. He hasn't practiced.
They said Deontay Johnson hasn't been on the field since last Wednesday, so he's getting close too.
Yep,
okay.
not encouraging, especially I like Deontay Johnson a lot. One other receiver I'd put in the guys that you mentioned. I think he's a little bit ahead of Auden Tate and ESB. Van Jefferson. The Rams are getting a lot of the reports about Van Jefferson are very encouraging. And in their scrimmage on Saturday in the game where Darrell Henderson, that's another injury we got to keep an eye on. But in the scrimmage, he was performing so well with the backups that they started running him with the starters. And so if they go back to using 3 receivers as opposed to 2, I wonder what that means for. And Dave brought this up, which is a good point. If Jefferson kicks inside and they keep Kupp outside, is that bad for Kupp? But it could be bad for Higbee. If we're going to see a tight end rotation of Everett and Higbee. And as we know, before Everett's injury, Higbee was not a good fantasy tight end.
Okay, we got league winners in each round, plus an amazing thing that I never knew. Maybe you knew it, and you're smarter than I am. I would not rule that out. Find out when we come back on Fantasy Football Today. Amazing thing I never knew was reading Jason LaCanfora's latest notes column, which is a must-read. Good fantasy tidbits in there on CBSSports.com/NFL. I did not know that Russell Wilson has never had one MVP vote. Not even a vote. That is incredible. And he was just writing about the Seahawks, and hopefully they will, I guess, hashtag let Russ cook. That's a thing now. But
it's been a thing.
Yeah, let Russ cook. Okay,
you saw what Pete Carroll said over the weekend, right?
Yeah, he kind of joked about it. Yeah. Don't know what to make of that. But whether or not they let Russ cook is going to be just have a huge impact in fantasy. And I hope because Jason LaCanfora asked him about the never having an MVP vote, and he made a joke about it. Maybe one day I'll get one. Russell Wilson said that. So here's to cooking. Let him go. Let him air it out, man. Yay!
It'll be fun.
It would be.
It's the strength of their team.
Okay, well, I thought maybe that would spark some discussion, but good.
I think we all agree.
Move on. Yeah,
I think we're all very much in agreement on that.
All right, let's rock and roll. League winners in each round. I'm using CBS ADP here, and we will start with round 3, and that would be George Kittle, the 2-3 turn, Chris Godwin, Dak Prescott, Todd Gurley, Kenny Golladay, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Le'Veon Bell, James Conner. How many? It's always tricky when to start.
Well, I think you should just
use Heath.
Go by their average draft position. There are not 12 players with a first round ADP, but just go by their average draft position.
Okay, so that middle column.
Yeah, that's what I use.
All right then. So let's go. Okay, then we'll cut it off at Carson. Kittle, Godwin, Prescott, Gurley, Golladay, Kupp, Evans, Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, Chris Carson. How many of those guys are not league winners? Obviously, this is a good round here. What did you have to say, Heath?
My favorite league winner, potential league winner, is James Conner. Just because we saw, like 2018, he was the number 6 running back, despite the fact that he missed 3 games. Last year, before he got hurt, he was the number 9 running back. Everything in Mike Tomlin's history suggests that he's going to be a workhorse back. He might get hurt again, but if he stays healthy, he's a league winner, and especially in the 3rd round.
The fact that he's going after Le'Veon Bell is insane.
It really is.
All right.
But,
So,
I mean, I get it. You know, the general public, what's the last memory they've got of James Conner? That he was struggling to stay healthy last year. And they look at Le'Veon Bell and they go, well, he's been a league winner before. So I get why people might gravitate toward Bell before Conner. But
Well, I mean, if that's the case, most recently, Connor's been a league winner and Bell's not.
That's true. That's exactly right. But people still think of Le'Veon as that's what this tells me. I'm not saying it on behalf of, millions of casual fantasy football managers everywhere. But this tells me that people still view Le'Veon as a great fantasy running back. Same thing with Gurley. And I think that Gurley especially is kind of past his prime, and Le'Veon, I don't know if he's necessarily past his prime, but he's just not in a great spot. Connor's in a great spot. And for all the issues that he had last year, staying on the field and getting a lot of work, dude was on pace at one point for 1,400 yards and double-digit touchdowns.
yeah, and the other thing to note is that in this ADP, if you look at it on CBS, Le'Veon Bell has a down arrow, -5 next to him, and James Conner has an up arrow, he's +4. So he's rising in ADP. Bell is falling in ADP. So in a week, I think things will be different here. But
I think that's what, this is the point where most ADP starts to settle. And it's, a lot of average drafts and not just expert drafts for everybody.
Okay. So look, obviously, one thing to note, CBS ADP, the quarterbacks are going a lot earlier than where we draft them. So just keep that in mind. But this round is full of potential league winners. And Connor, you can get almost at the end. Do you think Chris Carson is a league winner?
I hesitate to call him a league winner. I think he can be a very good fantasy running back. He can be a contributor toward your success, but I don't think he'll be the reason for it.
Like, what's the definition of league winner?
That's impossible. But I don't have one. Is it a guy that just completely outperforms his draft class?
Yes. Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey were league winners last year.
But McCaffrey was drafted as a top 4 running back.
Still was a league winner.
Oh, league winner.
Yeah. Michael Thomas, same thing. This isn't about beating your ADP. This is about this dude helps you crush your opponent pretty much every week. I think you can make the argument that Aaron Jones was a league winner last year.
Absolutely, he was.
Mark Andrews and Darren Waller.
Perfect.
Mark Ingram, I would say, who's probably a league winner.
Yep. If that's the definition, sure.
Okay. Let's go to the next group then. Adam Thielen, Melvin Gordon, Amari Cooper, Zach Ertz, Leonard Fournette, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deshaun Watson. I'm just going to go 6 at a time. That was 7, so that's fine. Thielen, Gordon, Cooper, Ertz, Fournette, Juju. Why don't we do that? 6. Who stands
Juju and Thielen for me.
Yeah, the receiver. Juju's my favorite.
Yeah, not even close.
Okay. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, David Johnson, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Devin Singletary.
Yeah, I'll take those receivers over the previous receivers. Give me Moore and Ridley as league winner candidates ahead of Thielen and Juju.
Yep, I think Moore for sure, and Ridley's in the conversation with the other two. And then clearly both quarterbacks.
Yep. But there's going to be a better value at quarterback later.
Dave, how freaked out are you by Roethlisberger? Like, how do you feel?
You mean like excited? I don't think there's a problem.
We had that report about him
short-arming it, yeah. But there have been several reports before and after that say that his arm is fine. And I'll tell you what, if Deontay Johnson's injury is significant, of course that's going to brighten the outlook for all the pass catchers in Pittsburgh, especially Smith-Schuster.
Man, look at all this wide receiver value. Let's go to the next round. We're about basically at the end of round 4 into round 5. Tyler Lockett, Odell Beckham, Mark Andrews, Mark Ingram, Robert Woods, and Allen Robinson.
I think Andrews could be the best one here as far as league winners.
Yeah, the fact that you get him after Ertz is great.
Yeah. Well, I would still take Ertz ahead of Andrews in full PPR, but in the other formats, I'm taking Andrews.
But Lockett, Beckham,
Good value.
Andrews, Ingram, Robert Woods, Allen Robinson. Aren't you taking those wide receivers ahead of Andrews?
Not all of them.
Some yes, some no. But I think all these receivers have league-winning upside.
Does Allen Robinson have league-winning upside?
Yes,
Because he can catch a ton of passes.
he's shown you that once already.
I think Lockett has league-winning upside. There, I
Yes.
said it.
Yeah, no, he was
He was on his way there last year. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus,
Just Robert Woods.
I mean, if you're getting what you got out of him in those final 7 games, then yes.
You're not going to because he was on pace for like 185 targets.
And 118 catches, yes. No, you're not going to get that. But I mean, if that's what comes of it, then if he does it again, then yes, he's a league winner.
Okay, Heath, you alive?
I am alive, but I did this. Like, I sent you my notes for none of the players that I selected were in this group.
Okay. Well, okay. So then let's go to the next group.
I was waiting for the next group.
Keenan Allen, A.J. Brown, Kyler Murray, Jonathan Taylor, Raheem Mostert, and T.Y. Hilton. And this is like the end of round 5 in a 12-team league. Keenan Allen, A.J. Brown, Kyler Murray, Jonathan Taylor, Raheem Mostert, T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, I think the two obvious ones, and my two choices for round 5 were Jonathan Taylor and A.J. Brown, guys that I never, ever, ever get to draft. So it was nice to say something positive about them. And like Marlon Mack could get hurt, and Jonathan Taylor could be 15 carries a game from week 1, and he could just be awesome. And he could be a mini Derrick Henry or a total Derrick Henry this year and be a league winner. Derrick Henry could get hurt, and the Titans could throw more than 25 passes a game, and A.J. Brown could maintain some elite efficiency and be a top 5 wide receiver. In round 5, they're both league winners, potentially.
But how much of this exercise did you base off injury? Because I want to talk about who could be a league winner without injury.
Well, okay, A.J. Brown doesn't really have to have Derrick Henry get hurt. That's not what I meant. But some of it is, like, especially you get 2 more rounds, and it's almost all based on injury.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. But I would say Jonathan Taylor does not need an injury, and certainly Kyler Murray does not need an injury.
Yeah, those would be the 3 that I would say have league-winning upside for sure.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of hard to make the case for Keenan Allen or T.Y. Hilton.
Right.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah, and that's an important takeaway here. And probably not Raheem Mostert. Is there a case for Raheem Mostert?
I don't think so.
Tevin Coleman not around.
That's true.
Well, I mean, there was that stretch last year where he just kept scoring.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're running out of pass catchers in San Francisco, and they can run the ball really well. They've got a great offensive line. So I would say that there is a possibility where Raheem Mostert can somehow have better efficiency, but it seems unlikely.
All right, we'll go into round 6 now. Darren Waller, DK Metcalf, Tom Brady.
There's one.
Brady?
Metcalf.
Okay. David Montgomery, Ronald Jones, and Drew Brees. Waller, Metcalf, Brady, Montgomery, Ronald Jones, Brees.
You know what I'm going to say?
Metcalf.
And?
Ronald Jones.
Yep.
Do you think he has league-winning upside, though?
I think he's got league-winning upside. He's in a fantastic offense. He's clearly going to be the lead running back. All he has to do is somehow prove, and I guess I'm using the word somehow, so that's not a great thing, but somehow prove that he can be a decent pass catcher. What's stopping him from getting 40 receptions? He had 30-something last year, and he can just ball out off of handoffs and pitches. It's an improved offensive line.
I think the only thing
Nobody's
that could be
crowding the box
stopping
against
him is McCoy.
It's him.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I think
McCoy.
it's him. I don't think it's McCoy.
Well, I mean, if he's not playing on passing down, it's going to be hard for him to do that.
But, okay, that's fair.
So what is the difference between Ronald Jones and Raheem Mostert?
One of them's young and hasn't been a failure in the NFL for 5 years.
One of them has actually been great in the NFL, and it's not Ronald Jones.
Both have been a failure in the NFL at some point. And both of them seem to be coming out of it at the same time. But one of them is playing with Tom Brady, who defenses are going to respect, and a bunch of pass catchers, which defenses are going to have to respect. And he's not going to share. I don't think he's going to share first and second down work unless he starts fumbling or, not gaining 4+ yards per carry.
And I should not have said failure in the NFL. I apologize. But what changed from the last half of last year because even after he was named the starter in the second half of last year, he was still sharing and playing barely 50% of the snaps with Peyton Barber. Why wouldn't he share?
Barber's
he's 100% sharing. There's no doubt about it. He's sharing.
But he's not sharing the same type of carries that he was sharing with Barber.
But it's not sharing carries. He's going to share playing time. I mean, he's going to share playing time to LaShawn McCoy, maybe to an extent Keyshawn Vaughn. But I also think we're completely overlooking that Dario Gobowale is going to have some role in this offense too. And so, they're going to use 3 guys. Now, it should be what I would do is 60% of the touches should go to Ronald Jones, or 60% of the playing time should go to Ronald Jones, and then divvy up the other 40 to the other 2 guys, especially on passing down situations. But yeah, I mean, look, Ronald Jones is a great spot. He's a great pick in round 5. I don't know if I'd put him in the category of league winning upside, but in relation to this exercise in this round, absolutely he does if he hits. But there's just a lot of ifs, I think, that go along with him. But there are ifs that go along with several of the guys we talked about already. So, he's a guy that you should be excited about based on everything that's happened around him. It'll just be fun to see how it unfolds, and very disappointing to see how it unfolds the other way if, in fact, McCoy just becomes the nuisance that we're all hoping he doesn't become. And I do have a quick update. Kenyan Drake just tweeted, was in a walking boot around this time last summer too, just trying to stay consistent. No worries. I'm good.
Good. I just don't have the same confidence that Ronald Jones is not going to share as much early down work as he did last year. I don't think Peyton, it's not like, Peyton Barber's gone, but they have other backs that are as good as Peyton Barber. Everybody has 2 or 3.
You would probably assume that McCoy at this point in his career is as good as Peyton Barber was last year, right?
I would think so.
Yes.
I'm going to be sick.
You disagree?
I think they both stink as far as just being able to play.
I mean, on a
running back right now.
I don't disagree with that, but Bruce Arians probably thinks differently, and I'm sure Tom Brady probably thinks differently. They get enamored by what a guy has done in the past. That's what happens.
You think that they are going to take LaShawn McCoy and say, "Hey, he was really great 3 years ago," and just turn him loose?
I think what we find out with Adrian Peterson and what we find out with Frank Gore and what we find out with guys that have a resume is that when you get them in practice and they do 5 or 6 things where they actually show burst and they have to actually exert energy, they look fantastic. And then what happens in games is those things become a problem as the game wears on, and especially as the season wears on. And that's why LaShawn McCoy was very good to start the season for Kansas City. And then, he's got 31-year-old legs. He just can't do it anymore. And Damian Williams was healthy.
And YPC for life, he averaged 4.6 yards per carry last year.
Yeah, but that was front-loaded.
That's why you should really have Clyde.
That's the point.
Higher in your rankings.
That's the point, that it's front-loaded, because he's got old legs and they wear down. And so I just think that's going to be an issue for Ronald Jones of him hitting his ceiling is a coach who's stubborn, who's done this before. He gave us a perfect example of almost the exact same thing, of a guy who he wasn't thrilled with in Andre Ellington, of a guy who he drafted in David Johnson, and I don't think Keyshawn Vaughn's becoming David Johnson, but who knows, of a guy who he drafted and didn't give an opportunity to until he needed him, and then a veteran who he shoved on the field for no reason other than he was a veteran with a good resume in Chris Johnson when he was in Arizona. So I hope Ronald Jones does not get ruined by LaShawn McCoy or Keyshawn Vaughn or Dario Gumboale. I have a lot of stock in Ronald Jones myself already, so it's a player that I'm hopeful for. I just see the red flags, unfortunately, for what we know Bruce Arians does.
See, what I thought you were going to say when you were bringing up Adrian Peterson and Frank Gore, these are veterans that coaches can easily trust because they've been doing it for a long time.
Right.
So in addition to showing you good things in practice and training camp, they practice the right way. They've been through the motions a million times.
Right.
They'll feel comfortable with him. But Arians has already said what he said about Ronald Jones, and I don't think
the same things last year. He said the exact same things last year. There's no difference.
He said that Ronald Jones was going to be the guy before training camp. Did he even say one guy was going to be the guy? Show me the quote from last year where he said that.
I'll pull it up for you. There was somebody that tweeted, "Here's exactly the same things that he said about Ronald Jones at various times throughout the year last year. He's just referenced it.
Well, was it during training camp or was it
During training camp? Yeah.
It was week 9. Yeah.
There was a Thursday night game where we got a report that Ronald Jones was going to get a lot of work, and then Peyton Barber got the work, and it was an absolute slap in the face. So there is a little bit of a trust issue, and like what Heath said in week 9, there was a bit of a trust issue, I think, with what Arian says. But all right, we'll see. So all right, we made our points clear there. Now there's a few players going late in round 6 that are, well, certainly one of them. They're not. I really don't think they're going to be available this late. CBS drafters, we got to start moving these guys up. Courtland Sutton is just not going to be there 66th overall. I'd be surprised. DeAndre Swift, Terry McLaurin, that's another guy. I don't know, 66th overall. That seems late. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Matt Ryan. Courtland Sutton, DeAndre Swift, Terry McLaurin, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Matt Ryan. Who's a league winner?
Those receivers.
McLaurin is the one that jumps out to me that, like, you look what he did at the beginning of the year last year and what he did in the last 2 games with Dwayne Haskins. And if this offense looks anything like what Carolina's did last year, where it's fast paced and they run a ton of plays and they got a borderline top 12 season out of DJ Moore with Kyle Allen playing quarterback, I absolutely think Terry McLaurin could be a league winner.
And you chose him over Courtland Sutton? You think he has more league winning upside than Sutton?
I didn't choose either of these guys because there were 2 at the end of round 6 that I liked better. But yes, I think I would choose McLaurin over Sutton.
Okay.
Before we move on, July 8th, 2019, Ronald Jones emerges from Arian's short list of players who have been the most impressive this offseason. From August 7th last year, Bruce Arians on Ronald Jones. His confidence should be sky high with the kind of training camp he's had. From July 31st, Ronald Jones will be a heck of a player for us.
Yeah, none of those are committing to him as the lead guy. They're not the lead guy.
I mean, okay, we're splitting hairs on
I don't think so at all.
Okay.
They're not.
He didn't start training camp and say Ronald Jones looks better, and I hope
you're right. He was totally negative about him. He didn't say anything positive.
But he called him his lead guy.
Okay.
He basically laid it out that he was going to be the starter.
You know,
he's going to be this. Like, there's no debate he's going to be the starter. Week 9, he said he was going to be the starter for the rest of the season. He played more than 50% of the snaps once the rest of the season.
There's a very significant track record of him talking up Ronald Jones and not delivering on talking up Ronald Jones.
I mean, that is true, but it's also true that a year ago he was not talking about this much in terms of his role. Both of you are right.
Okay.
Nor was the media.
That's true. Both of you are right. If you can't accept that, then I don't know.
I'm not disagreeing with it, but I mean,
you said okay.
There's a track record.
Yeah, you're right. You're both right. Marquise Brown, Kareem Hunt, Cam Akers, Rob Gronkowski, DJ Chark, Evan Ingram. Who's got Howard? Like Howard, Marquise. Well, Brown, I get. DJ Chark going this late. Wow,
it's insane. Like he's when I said there's one coming. That's the one. Like I think him and Terry McLaurin have the chance to be rock stars this year.
Yeah,
I like Hunt, Akers, and Chark in this range as potential.
Same.
I think all 3 of them have the potential to win leagues.
Yep.
What about Marquise Brown?
I don't know if there's enough targets.
He could be super efficient, though. He could be hyper efficient. I think he could be a league winner. I think Chark can be a league winner. There's certainly a path for Akers, and if Nick Chubb, gets banged up or whatever, then Kareem Hunt would obviously be a massive league winner.
All right, let's see if we have any league winners here.
That makes me want to trade my 5th round pick for an extra 6th round pick and another pick later in my draft.
There's one more receiver coming.
AJ Green, Devontae Parker, Tyler Boyd, Aaron Rodgers, Jarvis Landry, and Hunter Henry.
There it is, Landry. Go ahead, Jamie. Talk about him.
No, it's not Landry.
I do think, like, just going through the exercise of who could be a league winner and forgetting about floor, or in this case, current injury situation, like AJ Green could absolutely be a league winner if he's just AJ Green by week 1 and Joe Burrow has the type of upside or ceiling season that he has in him. Green could absolutely be a league winner.
I think Green will be a league winner in the points per game category, but he will not be a league winner in the season long category. You're going to get that stretch of games from AJ Green. We saw it in 2018. That 8 games was pretty special. He's just not going to play 16 games. You just have to understand that with him. I mean, the fact that he's already banged up and missed a week with a hamstring problem, what does that tell you? They're going to be cautious. He's going to be cautious. He's just not going to go out there when he's not 100%.
Okay, moving on. Julian Edelman, Michael Gallup, J.K. Dobbins. I skipped one on purpose. Julian Edelman, Michael Gallup, Will Fuller,
That's the
J.K.
one.
Dobbins, Carson Wentz, and Marlon Mack.
Like I said, I love doing this exercise when Ben Gretch is not drafting because I can say, yeah, Will Fuller is definitely a league winner in round 8.
Yeah, and he's moving up 8 spots too. Jamey, that was the guy?
Of course. I mean, if he takes advantage of this opportunity, he's going to be amazing.
There are more league winners here, though, right? Edelman, Gallup, Fuller, Dobbins, Wentz, Mack.
Dobbins for sure.
Dobbins is, yeah. I mean, I know you said no injury-related stuff, Adam, but if he's the guy in Baltimore, I just wonder, after what Jeff Zrebeck told us and has written, that if Gus Edwards isn't going to go away, like, what are they going to do if Ingram misses time? Is it going to be the Dobbins show? Is Dobbins going to take over Ingram's role? Is Edwards going to take over Ingram's role? Like, that's the tricky part about all this. But yeah, I think if you take Dobbins in round 8, like, this is another guy Ben takes, I think, in my opinion, a couple spots too soon. But it's the way Ben drafts. Ben drafts lottery ticket running backs, but he starts taking them in this range because he has to. So the draft we did Monday, which again we'll talk about on HQ and then on Twitch, his 2 running backs are DeAndre Swift and J.K. Dobbins. Like, those are his starting running backs right now. Like, it's as potentially ugly as it could be and potentially amazing as it can be if those guys hit, and Dobbins being that guy that you're taking right now.
All right, I think let's keep going here. Jordan Howard, Jared Cook, Tariq Cohen, Marvin Jones, Tyler Higbee, Matt Breida.
Let's just go a few more.
Brandon Cook, Hayden Hurst.
There we go.
Hayden Hurst. Okay.
I think Cooks and Hurst both have, like, if we're just talking upside, definitely league-winning upside for both of those guys.
All right. Anyone else in that group? Howard, Cook, Cohen, Marvin Jones, Higbee, Breida. All right. Nope. Cooks.
I love Higbee. I don't know if I can say that he's a league winner.
Right.
Oh my God! Of course he is.
He would have to do. Like, I've been talking about him doing 50% of what he did over those final 5 games over the balance of 2020. And if he does that, that's really good. I guess that makes, maybe I should say he's a league winner if he does half of what he did, because then that's 10, 11 PPR points per week every week. That would be pretty sick.
All right, here we go. James White, Kerryon Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, Henry Ruggs, Jared Goff.
You know what? I think James White could be one in PPR.
Really?
Yeah.
Winner?
Yeah. I think he could
on.
end up catching a ton of passes and having a year like he did 2 years ago.
He was the number 8 running back or something 2 years ago.
He caught, 7 touchdowns?
But
No,
Cam Newton threw like 100 passes.
Like 12 or something.
Yeah.
He ran a lot. He ran some touchdowns in too.
He did.
Right.
So,
And
So
what's
that
their running
probably
back
won't
situation?
I mean, I don't think it's James White having like 5 rushing touchdowns.
It's not as ugly as it was back then, but I think fantasy managers can be confident about what James White's role is, and Cam's track record of throwing to the running back is good. And I think the Patriots coaches aren't going to try and ask Cam to do what Tom Brady did. They want him to do what he did in Carolina.
Cam never threw to running backs before McCaffrey.
Yeah, but then he did, and it worked. And why not do it again when your best running back is a great pass catcher?
That's true. All right, and then let's see. Well, Phillip Lindsay, of course, injury. Like, there are a lot of guys that could be with injury at this point. Anyone that could? How about CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Austin Hooper, Latavius Murray, obviously with injury there.
Yep.
Justin Tucker, Tevin Coleman, Cam Newton, Stafford.
Cam for sure.
Stafford?
Yeah. I mean, look,
Sure.
what was he on pace for last year?
Almost 25 points per game last year
Number 3.
before he got hurt.
Christian Kirk, Zach Moss, Jamison Crowder.
Zach Moss does.
With injury, sure.
I'm not sure. Like, Moss might be one of the ones where it's not necessarily with injury. Like, I don't expect it to happen, but there's a scenario in which the first couple of weeks he's just a lot better than Devin Singletary, and he's the lead back.
Instead of me reading the rest of ADP, there are a few guys that you think do not need an injury to be a league winner.
Damian Harris and Bryce Love.
Deebo Samuel, I'd say.
If he's healthy, yeah. Chris Herndon and Blake Jarwin. Mike
Oh, yeah,
Gesicki.
like Hawkinson fan. There's some
Yep.
definitely high upside tight ends here.
Preston Williams.
For sure.
Okay. All right, then. Works for me. For Dave and Jamey and special guest Heath Cummings, I'm Adam Azer. Don't forget Twitch Tuesday night, HQ Fantasy Football Today all week and all season long.
You get a haircut for tomorrow?
Do I need one?
Yeah, I probably would.
I'll put some product in it. I do not think I need a haircut. Oof. What do I have to wear?
Nothing at all, buddy. Nothing at all.
Well, then I'm definitely getting a haircut. All right.
You should borrow Heath's V-neck.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. It looks manly on Heath. It looks awkward and gorilla-like on me. We will talk to you on Tuesday with another podcast. And thanks a lot for listening, everybody. See you later. Go win your league winners. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Want more of the Fantasy Football Today podcast and nonstop year-round fantasy advice? It's simple. Hit the subscribe button and hang with us all throughout the year.